allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, trustees, and we also have a trustee joining us online, Trustee Satry. So, glad we could all be here for this important special meeting. And is there any thoughts, trustees, on the agenda? Anything that you needed to revisit? Awesome. We'll move on to general public comment. Is there any comments in person for any item not on the agenda? Any public comment online, something not on the agenda?
There are no hands raised. We have several guests of the public online, but none of you raising public comments, so there is no public comment.
Awesome, thank you. All right, and we'll move on then to a brief sort of housekeeping superintendent report.
We always try to change it up on you, to just keep you on your toes. Today, your mics are hot, it's not the owl, so when you are speaking, mics are warm, and make sure that we light engaged in front of you. That's it.
Well, that was easy.
That was a quick report.
Just a good reminder.
All right. Okay, so we have an interesting order of operations here. We didn't want our first item of actions to wait to the bottom of the agenda. So we have one item of new business, approve the committee recommendation of Slate plus RTA as the Capitol High School architect, and I'm thinking Mr. Fiddler, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Todd Verrill, Facilities Director. To bring this forward today, so I respectfully request the Board of Trustees award the Capitol High addition and renovation project to Slate Architecture and RTA Architects. 8 design firms responded to the request for qualification for architectural and engineering services. A committee of 7 members reviewed the submissions on the 28th of October, 2025, and selected 3 firms for interviews. We conducted those interviews on November 4th, 2025, and Slate RTA emerged as the firm we are recommending for this project. The selection committee is confident that these 2 firms will serve the district well as the architects of the new and improved Capitol High School. Representatives of Slate are here today, and I'm going to bring them forward to answer any of your questions. Does anybody have any questions of me before we move on? Okay, gentlemen, the floor is yours.
As they're working their way up, I'd also remind you that we have 2 trustees on that committee, Siobhan and Jenny, were both part of the process. So if you had any questions, not only to Slate, thank you fellows for being here, but also our 2 trustees that sat on the committee.
Madam Chair, fellow trustees, my name is Jacob Augenstein. I am with Slate Architecture. I'm a principal and I will be the point of contact for this project. We're just thrilled to be here. I'll let the other 2 gentlemen introduce themselves in a minute, but we're thrilled to be a part of this, a part of the community. And we're just, can't tell you how excited we are to get started and make this such a wonderful, wonderful new addition and renovation to our community.
I'm Chair, Trustees, Superintendent Welts. My name is Scott Cromwell. I'm also Principal Architect for Slate Architecture, and just want to say we are excited. We're calling it the transformation of Capitol High, and we are very good at figuring out how to make things work and how to make those adjustments and really move forward with the project. So just super excited about it.
Hello, board member.
You can move that mic as well. Sure. Better.
Board members, Superintendent Rex, my name is Riley Hanson. All I want to say as a Capitol High School alumni, I'm just really excited to be a part of the renovation of my former high school. So really looking forward to it.
There might be a few questions. Maybe not. It's our turn.
I just, your partner, RTA, since I wasn't there, where they located?
Your lead.
Yeah, so RTA is out of Colorado Springs, and we actually do have Doug Abernathy online, for this meeting, so. And they're wonderful. Their restorative K through 12 work is, second to none, I would say. And they're a great team member to have on this project with us.
I think it would be helpful for, oops.
You did remind.
I know.
I think it would be helpful for the trustees to hear from Ms. Kendall Abernathy.
Yep.
The number of projects that are similar to this that they have completed over the last, I can't remember the data they gave us, 5 years or so.
Yeah.
Because we've been told this is the most complicated of the projects that we're doing because it's a remodel and you have to fit, I'm glad you're good at it, fit the old pieces into the new pieces and making sure that, yeah, you keep your budget and the project comes out with something really amazing and we, don't end up just doing the guts of the building. So it's complicated and probably a lot of unknowns. So it would be great to hear what kind of success your partners have had with renovating buildings of this size.
Thank you. Yeah, Doug Abernathy, I'm a principal at RTA. Thank you for the question. Yeah, we have 7 projects just in the last 3 years that we've completed that are very similar to this across Colorado. We have a large project, a large transformation project similar to this that's right now in construction in Colorado Springs. It's about $85 million. Very similar program, very similar project. And you are absolutely correct. These are complex projects. They take a lot of thought and consideration to make these projects successful. But with Scott and Jacob and Riley and their experience with Capitol High School, it really does provide great foundation for us so that we understand what we're getting into as a team in order to complete this project. We've completed over 200 K through 12 projects, probably in the last 7 years as a firm across Colorado, and 85% of those projects are in existing occupied campuses. And so we have lots of experience with these sorts of projects. And as we all know, as a team, the district and the design team, the safety of the students and of the staff and everyone that's on site is paramount to make these projects successful. So we'll be very focused on that as a team.
If there's no more discussion, and there may be, especially when we get to the point of making a decision with that motion, but if we feel like we've had this part clarified, is there someone you want to say to start?
I'm just here to answer questions if you have any.
Yeah, don't go anywhere, because you might ask one. Is there a motion on the adoption?
I move that we approve the committee recommendation of Slate plus RTA as the architects for Capitol High project.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on the motion?
There is no public comment in person and none online.
Is there any board comment?
Yeah, I actually just had a question for our 2 members who attended, because I was looking at the scores. And there are a couple of them that are fairly close. I was just curious what stood out to you guys with Slate that swayed you.
Yeah, so that's a great question. It was a good problem to have that all 3 were very well qualified for this project, right? So it really came down to what was the best fit for our district. What stood out to me about this partnership was their experience on occupied sites specifically. It's a totally different animal than building new. And so we knew that we needed to prioritize that experience.
The other part that stood out to me was slave architecture. I know, even though the partner is really important and the boots on the ground constantly is also very important. And Mr. Merrill, stated that he had a very positive and long working relationship with slave architecture. So that was another piece that kind of pushed me in that direction. However, both of those firms are really good. They're 1.1 one point away. So we hope that, they'll continue to apply because, they were both excellent.
Maybe a good reminder that we're fortunate to live in this community with such high quality professionals throughout our community. So it's bittersweet because we do have a lot, and you choose one and move on. And so like Slate and SMA 80 and SMA, and there's others that we hope will apply in future projects. We have one come up for Kessler, but it is, as I think Jen said, it's a good problem to have. But I want to recognize the fact that the talent that we have in this community is extraordinary, and we're fortunate to have such great people in our community.
Question for both of you guys as well. I have to say, I was very impressed that one of the architects working on the project went to the school. Schools are so very emotional spaces and they're practical spaces, but having someone who sort of like lived it was super meaningful to me. Was that something was that also even Stephen between
They were even Stephen between the two. There was another, and also very passionate. I mean, how exciting can it be to, fix what you've experienced basically, because Capitol High hasn't significantly changed since they graduated. So yeah, that was good on both of the firms that were
Actually, all three had like a really big connection to Capitol, so that was, even made it even more heartbreaking. Don't we have a Capitol High parent?
Yeah.
Riley would tell you that his drafting class came out in this course, and he went back and toured through the building. It looks the same. I think that's what he said.
that must have been really hard work to pick some good qualified applicants.
Blessing that we had so many, also very happy with our choice.
Favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So the motion passes. That is it. All right. Yeah. Thank you, congratulations, and thanks for all the work that went into it. The city carefully planning this process. All right, we'll move on. So we'll move on to the item for information, the interview of candidates for the board trustee vacancy. And before we go, I'm just gonna walk through the process a little bit, both for the interviewees and for the board. So will be called up in alphabetical order. So there's no rhyme or reason to the order except the alphabet.
Sure.
Yes.
Can I interrupt you?
You bet.
So, sorry. Can I got a superintendent report that, so that you can put them on hold just for one more second.
Okay.
We skipped over that in,
Okay.
before general comment. So real quick, I just want to signal, as they prepared, for the interview, I wanted to signal in the superintendent report that, maybe the first blush that there's a, early retirement teacher incentive that we're working on. And so I want to make that note. We will talk about it in our budget meeting, Ms. Armstrong. We'll do that and then we'll come to the full board. But I want to signal it several times that we are working with the HEA and our leadership through the union on a potential 2-year early retirement incentive. And it's a tool, remember, it's a tool in the STARS Act where we have to retain a scope of our salaries. And so this is an opportunity for us to flex our average salaries by offering up an incentive. And that would be potentially, we're still working through the language with our attorney and HEA, but it'd be a 15 member the first year, potentially 10 members the following year. So that's coming on the radar. I didn't want to surprise you. We'll run that through budget and finance, and then we'll run it through the full board. So questions that you might have.
Yeah, I can't remember, we need to get to 70%. Did we start there, as far as the entry salary?
We didn't go to the max. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's 76% is where we started, and we need to get up to the threshold of 80, I think. So I can have that up, but we did not go to the full threshold. We're gonna work our way into that. So, sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to get that on the record.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yep.
I think it's 66.
It is.
We are 66.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we're gonna do one step.
4%.
Thank you for your report.
Yes, that would, that in timely.
All right, so I'll walk through the process for the interviewees. We'll go in alphabetical order. Trustees, I think we'll just run through kind of round robin as we've done before on asking the questions. And if you're comfortable, do you want to kick it off, Jim, when we get to that point?
I think you've done it just through the chair.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sure. All right, that sounds great. I'll do that.
That's how we did it. That's how-
I'll be asking all the questions. And then, when we're done with all of the interviews, board members, we can, that's our opportunity to kind of talk amongst ourselves about all of the interviews that we've had. There were 2 other sections of which we can talk to people, so that will be our chance to talk about, you know, this task in front of us and what is our, you know, just all the things we may choose to talk about. So we can talk about that in the item for information, and then we will make a motion and we'll have an item for action. And our county superintendent is here, so we'll be, well, presuming that the person who chooses is actually present. We could be one and done today and fill Trustee Robinson's vacancy.
As we need to for statute.
Yes, as we need to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so today's the day for these to
Yeah.
happen. My role again is this will be your recommendation. I pull out of this one. It's a board recommendation. I'm here for questions if need be, but this is a board decision.
So if it is someone that's chosen that's not here, do they just get called to come here? Or how does
Yeah,
that-
we can have county superintendent come back for that swearing.
Oh, okay.
They can go, they can come to my office.
Okay, cool.
Great question, thank you. All right. Any questions
for
for
you?
members on how this is gonna go down?
Just clarifying, will all be public, no closed session?
No closed session, it'll all be public.
Okay.
All right, so the first person on our list is Alan Cormany. Did I say that correctly? Mr.
Yes.
Cormany? Oh, thank you. Come on up. Most public job interview ever.
Feel free to move that mic around where it should. Okay, thank you. Oh, my nose.
Well, thank you for being here. I'll start with number 1. What motivates you to serve as a school trustee, and why is now the right time for you to take on this role?
What really attracted me to the opening on the school board was that it was filling out a term that had already been voted in. And I thought it would be a good opportunity just to kind of do that and learn and see if I were to get the position and see if I wanted to continue with that also. I'm retired. I have time. I've been on other boards. And I just thought, well, this was just kind of convenient opening like this. And I just thought I'd take it and do it. And again, like I say, I catch myself every once in a while saying, you know, I need a new adventure. Maybe this is a new adventure for me. So
What do you hope to accomplish as a trustee over the next 9 months?
I know a lot of people, particularly that we elect to Congress or locally at commission different things. Sometimes a lot of people come with an agenda or something they want to see done. I retired from the city of Helena on the public works staff, and I remember having a board of non-motorized citizens. And 2 or 3 of them came and they said, boy, I want this thing built right now. You know, let's go on next Tuesday. Let's just start moving those bulldozers and let's build this. And I said, it doesn't work that way. As you guys are going through the process, you need engineers, architects possibly. You need the money. And it takes time. And that's, like I said, the thing on a lot of that is that. So I really don't have quite an agenda to come to. I kind of went on a tangent there. But it's going to take me time to first few months or whatever, just kind of learn the position, learn what the board does and how it would work into the board. I would like to help with the building process since I am a retired engineer. And The other thing too is always, I wanted to kind of look at, or at least discuss with people and kind of to be educated, is in the budget process. I know that this last election, the school bond passed by a short amount. And I think it's still kind of a bitter pill for people as far as raising the taxes. But the thing is that I kept thinking is there a way, if I were to get on, to take a look at the budget and see, is there ways a person, the committee, the school district could kind of just tweak the budget a little bit and maybe show good faith back to the taxpayer and say, well, we've cut here, but we're still maintaining our level of education to our students and our faculty, our facilities and everything like that. So I guess it'd be the two things I would really like to kind of look at that way. Other than that, it would just be like, say, be a learning process of the position.
Board's work is guided by 5 pillars: teaching and learning, facilities, culture, budget, and communications. How would you support and contribute to our efforts in these areas?
On the teaching and learning, I have, one of my retirement jobs was I did about 2 years worth of substitute teaching. And I did my teaching, just in case you wanted to know, I did my substitute teaching at St. Andrew's School on the west side of town and at Montana City School. And I learned, I think that there's the word, I learned a lot on that position too. It was an experience. As you well know, actually this is your guys' profession. There's all kinds of kids and all kinds of teachers and all kinds of this and that and everything else. And so I guess I can say I've got some experience. It's subbing, so I know the end of that part of the teaching and the learning end of it. The facilities, like I said, I worked with my position at the city. I was in contact with the school district quite a lot with their facilities director because of the fact that sometimes our projects overlapped theirs, their projects overlapped ours. So there's a little bit of, like I say, we did work together on quite a few different things. And like I said, again, I would, I'm just always curious, like I said, with your new buildings coming, just curious to see what they're gonna look like and how functional they're gonna be as far as the money that's being spent on that. As far as the culture, I don't know how long it's been done, but I do like the idea. And I'd like to say it's nothing new, but having the resource officers in the schools. I think that helps a lot. I think it helps grow in the students that their respective police officers, or I should say law enforcement, and of the laws. But the other thing is I always think is that sometimes you might have some of those little kids sit there and go, boy, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be a law enforcement. I want to be an attorney. I want to be, like that. And maybe that influence helps. I know we've all had someone, whether it's a teacher or someone else, has always influenced us on our track to go into somewhere. So I think that's kind of on the culture. The other thing too is provide a safe and a clean, well-maintained facilities for our students to learn in, and the teachers to teach them. Like there's 2 different people there. With the budget, again, like I said, I've already told you about, like I said, it'd be kind of nice to see if there was an effort to try to do something cutting just to show some good faith back to the taxpayer. And as far as communication is, I know you've probably done it. Our newspapers are kind of a thing of the past now, and I don't do Facebook. But the thing is that I'm sure you've already done this, but as far as the communications is that informing the public of different things. I know you guys have your regular meetings and special meetings and things like that. And you invite the public to come and speak about different things, and that's great. But I think, like I say, particularly now when you're going through your building process, really keep them informed of what's going to happen, what's going to be going on with that, and the transparency. I'm sure you've always done that anyway, but just continue with that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
In what ways have you contributed to helping our public schools in the past?
I've gone to the football games, even though I didn't go to school here, I went to football games. The reason why someone asked me, said, well, you didn't go to school here. How come you go to the football games every once in a while? I said, because of the other visiting teams that come to town. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we've had a lot of NFL players play through that field. And it was nice watching them from other high schools in Montana. What I'm seeing with Brock Osweiler, he's on ESPN right now. I saw him play here. So it's things like that, like I said, I contributed that way. enjoyed watching the football games that way. As far as anything else, working for the city, like I said, my projects overlap with the school district overlapped with ours. I had, one of the funnest one I've ever had was there was someone from Jefferson School, a student. I'm not quite certain what age. She wrote a letter to the mayor. Mayor gave it to me and says, what are we gonna do about this? I said, I don't know. So I went up and met with her. She wanted sidewalks north of her school. And so I had to go up there and show her, and I walked it with her and everything else and explained, and I said, well, we can kind of do this and we can't do this, and stuff. And it was a nice experience for me to do that. But I've also worked with the students at, what's the middle school on the west side? CR, thank you. They want sidewalks too up there, and so I worked with them on that for sidewalks and trying to do that non-motorized up there. Let's see, the other areas, I've tried to help out with the fundraisers, buying raffle tickets, candy, don't need, but buying the candy and that stuff, seeing the games, like I said, subbing at the schools. So in a small, and of course, like the one line out of one of those movies, so I paid my taxes. So, that's kind of the way I've done it. I mean, I'm not married, I don't have kids, and so I wasn't connected to the schools that way. But as far as everything else, I drive by, I observe them, I watch, I look. If there's no cars, I go, huh, must be another day off. There are cars, well, school's in session, so like I say, so.
What is your understanding of the role and responsibilities of a school trustee?
What I wrote here. I think it's to be a team player and to help with the rest of the board as far as with making decisions and going with the decisions of the board for the facilities, students, to guide them through the money issues or guide the budget and teaching and any other district needs. It's just to kind of oversee that and do recommendations through the board. Like I say, the board is, I kind of like, I figure it was like the city. I was in charge, I'll say it that way. I was in charge of the taxpayers' money. Now, did I use it for pizza and beer parties? No, that's not responsible bookkeeping of that. What I used it for was the projects and stuff that we were budgeted in for, and I made sure that we did that on a very economical way. I really watched contractors to make sure, I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but I really watched contractors to make sure they weren't cheating us, overcharging us, things like that, because it's the city's money, it's the public's money. And I wanted to make certain that stuff was square and everything. Did we get audited? Yes, we did. Did we always pass the audits? Yes, we did. And so the thing is that responsibility in that of other people's money. So, and again, like I said, the other about it was this, the understanding, it's just like I said, to discuss it. I know that we don't always agree on the same things, but I think come to a conclusion with it and work and do the best for the students. I think it's the main one, and then the taxpayers.
Is there anything else you'd like us to know about you, and do you have any questions for us?
Do we have time? Well, my name, Alan Cormany. I've lived here in Helena for 41 years. Born and raised in Havre. I went to school at St. Jude's Elementary Parochial School up in Havre, and then Havre High. Oh, two ponies, Havre High. And graduated in 1976. And of course, the old joke is that I was forced to graduate in 1976 because they needed the desk space. But after that, I went to school at Montana State University to learn agricultural economics. And after a while, changed my field to engineering. Had too much fun in college and had to go. This kind of said thanks for coming. And so I went to school at Northern Montana College and had fun there too. But actually got my engineering degree out of Northern. Always seemed like when I was looking for work, there was always a lull in the economy, but I did work for a testing company down for the Units 3 and 4 Colstrip project. And then after that, I went to work for, at the time it was called the Montana Department of Highways. I worked in road design up there and then also in the testing labs there. After 5 years of that, I went to work for the city, working most of the non-motorized, so trails, sidewalks, sidewalk restoration up in the Mansion District, help in the school district, anyone else with sidewalk needs and things like that. Also, I was also a superintendent, project manager, whatever you want to call it, on a bunch of the utility projects we had in town and other little things that we had in the city that, projects that were going on. So, I used to always, people would always say to me, you know, I've been standing on a corner watching the contractor and someone come up and say, do you know who that was that just went by and honked at you? And I says, no, but I wave anyway. So like I said, you may have seen me waving at you down, you know. But, it was a good career. Like I said, I feel like I did pretty good accomplishments with that. After that, I retired, did my, like I said, little jobs, like say I worked at the legislature, worked, for substitute teaching. I worked, for Enterprise, driving their little cars around the state. And, that just wasn't quite what I wanted, but anyway, over the time, like I say, then there was just kept those lulls in the economy, but now everyone's hiring, it seems like, so it'd be kind of nice, but I thought, I'm retired, I don't want to do too much of that stuff. But, so as long as they keep, showing reruns of Law and Order, I have things to do at home, you know. But, just trying to think of anything else on that I wanted to. I guess that's kind of in a nutshell what, you know. I didn't think I'd ever stay here for 41 years, but kind of here. I do kind of split my time. I still have property in Havre I take care of. In fact, I was just up there this week and, doing that stuff. So I kept busy that way and different things. But like I said, again, I'm just kind of, this was a nice opportunity for me to try and do something like this and then also to, you know, do another new adventure. So that was going to do that. Can I ask a couple questions?
Yeah, is there any questions, Mr. Conley?
How many candidates is there? Six, okay. These kind of, I might be kind of, they always say there's no dumb questions, but I was going to ask you, how does the Helena School District size up with the other larger school districts in the state as far as area size, budget, and the number of students? I mean, I would assume somewhere like Billings is, you know, a lot, but does Helena come in like number 2 just because of other ways school districts are cut up, or?
I've heard that we're the closest to, Missoula, and, Superintendent Welch, you might have better information.
Yeah. I think what you're asking is, like number of students and then maybe the vastness of like how many acreage or how many square miles.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, how do we square it academically? So there's a lot of ways to square up the district. I would say that, we're probably second in academics, Jason Bozeman. That's what we like that story. In students, student wise, you'll see Billings, Missoula, potentially Great Falls, then Helena. Bozeman slightly under us, and then we fall through the rest of the AA. So middle of the pack in the number of students we have. We're a vast district. You know, we run out from New York, and so you know our acreage or the square miles we have is probably the upper third. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. It does kind of, because I kind of was thinking of some of that stuff, like you said. So, since the bond, the school project bond passed, and you guys are hiring architects and everything, is there anything else big that you guys have planned coming up, or your table's plate's kind of full now?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's full. Way back when I started, we started with the deferred maintenance. You've probably heard us talk about that. We have a big backlog of deferred maintenance, and these projects will really take a lot of that off of our plate. I don't want to blame any past boards or administrations, because one thing I've learned is that sitting in these chairs is much more complicated than you would think it might be. But for whatever reason, Helena got very far behind on taking care of their buildings. And I'm so thankful for the bonds that are passed. And, you know, we did that after a very large increase in construction costs. So I'm very proud and thankful for this community. But that doesn't mean that we don't still have facilities needs, and we need to make sure that we still have a couple, 2-3 buildings that are still in really pretty rough shape, to the point where, you know, we don't, there's a balancing act, whether it's worthwhile using the analogy of putting money into an old car, at some point it's not worth it. And we still have some of those. So I think that, you know, we need to take a breath and have some space, but I think it also means that our work isn't done
Okay. Yeah,
because of that deferred maintenance.
yeah, that's, I kind of figured you still had some other things, so I just thought, well, what else big do you have, you know, that would be coming, so, okay, thank you. One thing I was gonna, it's not so much a question as more as a comment. Well, first off, I guess it's kind of a question, like, how competitive is your teacher pay versus housing needs in this school district? And I guess I'll say where I'm coming with that. One night on the news, I saw at the Great Falls School District, they were having problems attracting new teachers. And the reason why is that I don't think it was so much the pay, it was because the housing was so expensive. And I know that's the biggest problem, like in Bozeman. But I called them up with a suggestion, and I said, well, couldn't you get with a couple friendly landlords? You know, like my uncle, if he was still in the business, you know, and see if new teachers could be given a break on their rent for 1 year. Then that would get them established in the school district and in their job, get them established in the community, get them at least a nice apartment for the 1 year. Then after that, it'd be up to them to either find a roommate or move or get a new job or whatever they have to do. But figure, like, say, give them a break so there's an incentive to get them to want to go to that school district and stay there. So I guess that's kind of where I was getting that the question from.
I think, probably every school district in Montana is in a similar position, but Helena is a uniquely poor one. That, our housing prices, it increased at a faster rate than everybody else's in Montana, as a state is the most unaffordable state to live in. Our school funding is set by a formula that has not changed structurally in 20 years. So that determines teacher pay in a way. We get paid per people. That's where almost all of our money comes from. It hasn't really changed that much in 20 years, but housing prices, as we all know, have changed a lot. So I don't think any school district is quote unquote competitive in terms of how much you're able to pay and what housing costs. And those two things are not set by the same spin of the same pendulum. They're entirely unrelated, obviously. There was some good news that came out of the 2025 legislature, and you may have heard about it, called the STARS Act, that sets some parameters the districts had to meet, and then they would get extra money that this district anyway chose to spend on teacher salaries. So we did make some improvements. I think there is I mean, I guess I'm speaking for myself, but probably for everyone too. There's significant work that needs to be done. That work will need to be done at the legislative level. Really, I mean, everything every district trying really hard is just this end. This district has cut what, 6.5 million out of the budget. No, 14.
This one, 6, 7.
Yeah, I mean, we cut $6-7 million out of our budget in the last 3 years just to stay within the amount of money we get from the state. So when you're cutting, it's really difficult to also increase teacher pay, so you just cut some more someplace else. So it's kind of a, you know, you're spinning a lot of plates, and some plates you're not holding the straw spinning on, so.
Yeah, well, it's also like, say, seeing from my side versus what you guys know a little more deeper and stuff like that. I just thought, like I said, that, you know, when I call it Great Falls, I just thought, well, it's an idea, you know, I don't know if it would work, but it was a suggestion, so that's why I kind of would do that, so. But thank you, I guess I pause if there's any questions for me, any further questions?
Just to add on to that, just to give you some perspective, the sweet spot for salaries is in relation to the total budget used to be 87. And now in the state, you know, we're around 90% of our budgets go into salaries, and the teachers and the staff are really what make it happen. So you can see that there's not a lot of wiggle room in there, and we get the money that we get from the state. Teachers, unfortunately, you know, they used to be paid less, but they had a much higher standard of living in the state before the home prices and the cost of living went so high. So are they paid enough? Absolutely not. But is there much more we can do about it? No, I think we've done a lot of budget work, and that's where we sit right now.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, again, seeing from the outside, looking in. And like I said, I knew how that stuff worked, like at the city a little bit too, but city's different from school district versus somewhere else. Got my time on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, next on the list is Killer Higby. I hope I'm
Yep, that's
pronouncing correctly.
correct.
On Mr. Higby.
Well, it's been a while since I've spoken in a setting like this, so please excuse any nervousness I have. But thank you for having me today. Look forward to answering these questions.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, thanks for being here. Thanks for your interest. All right, we'll just run through like a.
Yeah.
What motivates you to serve as a school trustee, and why is now the right time for you to take on this role?
Yeah, so I think that just education in general is arguably one of the most important pillars of a strong community, basically from local level all the way up to like globally. That's not a particularly hot take here, given the setting, I imagine, but I feel like it should be said. And as someone who has consistently tried to learn and grow, and I think protecting the mechanisms of education is incredibly important, potentially now more than ever. I have grown up surrounded by educators and have continued to surround myself with them as I have gotten older. Both my grandmothers, my mother, several uncles, and a brother were all teachers. I have an aunt who was a lifelong administrator. My wife was a para in the district before we opened our bakery, and her aunt was also a teacher in the district as well. My best friend's a teacher, and I know tons of teachers in my chosen family. So I'm very familiar with both their passion and the fights associated with that. And I, in this position would hopefully do my best to represent them, and while also, maintaining the needs of the school district at large. Potentially more importantly, I'm the uncle to a first grader and the father to a future student, TBD where. But as to why now, that's a bit more, I guess ethereal. It's, I guess, ultimately, if not now, then when. I've lived in Helena now for almost 5 years, and I think my family has successfully put down roots, and the city has been incredibly welcoming to us. And so I feel like this would be an excellent way for me to give back. The bond vote definitely got me, I'd say, more interested in school administrative politics than I'd say ahead of schedule. My daughter won't be in kindergarten for another 5 years, so I was inevitably going to get involved in her school, but this is just maybe, like I said, a little ahead of schedule. So yeah, that's why I want to be part of this.
What do you hope to accomplish as a trustee over the next 9 months?
That's a tough one. I think first and foremost would just be getting up to speed. I don't like being dead weight. So I would do everything in my power to, make sure that I'm learning on the job, hit the ground running, doing everything I can to, make my voice heard, but more importantly, support you who have more expertise and have been doing this, and definitely will have to show me the ropes to a certain degree. But it's, I haven't been in a committee-like situation for many years, not since college where I did student government. So that would be, hopefully like riding a bike. On top of that, I just want to ensure that I'm effectively advocating for the community as, best I can. And as, I think this is obviously a tough job. The budgetary issues, everything. I don't have to tell you guys, so I just want to effectively be an advocate and being as involved in as I can be.
Thank you. Our board's work is guided by 5 pillars: teaching and learning, facilities, culture, budget, and communications. How would you support and contribute to our efforts in these areas?
Sure. I think these 5 pillars are kind of an excellent guiding light for what the board does. I'd say the one that jumps out me the most, just given kind of like my background, is facilities. In grad school, I learned a lot about green buildings and sustainable development. So I would love to see if, it looks like the design process is already underway for the new buildings. I'd love to see if we could we'd be able to implement some green design in those buildings. Obviously, like that is something that is or can be complicated, price wise or even, I guess, politically sometimes. But I do think that with like the right design, you're able to design something that's both uniquely Hellenian, but also sustainable for the foreseeable future. Bridging that with communication, I think, keeping the community up to speed with like how the building is going, how the bond is going to be implemented is going to be huge. I'm sure that's something that's already been discussed. In general, I think that the district's communication with immediate stakeholders is already superb. Most of the parents I know are very are aware of what's going on because the communication between them and the district is great. With that being said, I think that there's room for improvement with maybe people who are not directly impacted by the school. For like personal example, my neighbors are dinks, so they were very upset by the bonds being passed because in their mind, it's not something that affects them at all. And, I think that there is, I can't speak to everyone's like angry neighbor, but we can do our best to kind of like alleviate embrace the understanding that like strong schools make for a strong community and a strong future for the city. And, regardless of you have kids or your kids are no longer in school, like it does affect you and it does affect the place that you call home. Teaching and learning, I think, just given what I said previously, I love teachers. I think they do a great job. I personally, if I had infinite time and money, would probably just go back to school for the rest of my life because I love learning, and I think fostering a culture that allows students to learn in different styles and not firsthand experience, not a one-size-fits-all learning experience is good. But I think that going forward, that is absolutely something that I want to advocate for. I think culture in general kind of has significant overlap with the other pillars, specifically teaching and learning. And I think as long as there's like basic needs for the district are being met, each school is able to kind of develop its own unique culture, which makes each school like uniquely special in its own way. And then as far as budget, I'm sure it's nobody's like favorite thing, but as like a medium numbers guy, I don't necessarily shirk from it. I've had to learn on the fly how to budget for like a small business, which is not something I asked for or wanted, but it has been an experience to learn that on the fly. So I know for a fact that these are incredibly larger numbers than I'm used to dealing with, but to a certain degree, budgeting is budgeting, and I would embrace that challenge.
Thank you. In what ways have you contributed to Helena Public Schools in the past?
So I've only lived here for 5 years, and I would say most of my contributions are just very personal. When my wife was a para, I would drive her to school in the morning and pick her up. I've gone to the school events for my nephew, and we own Deer Potato, and I feed a lot of teachers, and students. So I don't know if you can count that since it's an exchange of goods, but it works, yeah. And then as I continue to develop my role within the city community, and my nephews and daughter grow up, I plan to hopefully contribute to the school system in some way, and some maybe greater capacity, regardless of if I'm offered this position. Because like I said, I think, it is incredibly important to foster the next generation.
Thank you. What is your understanding of the role and responsibilities of a school trustee?
So I could rattle off a bunch of stuff from the manual that I read, but I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. So ultimately, what I like, the distillation that I get from that is just stewardship. The board is meant to ensure that the schools are given every resource and opportunity that they can provide, so that in turn those schools can do the same for their students. I think the 5 pillars, like I said, are an invaluable guiding light to ensuring that that's done. And I don't believe that the board's role is to micromanage. There's an incredible team of administrators that are able to do that, and the role of the trustees is to just ensure that they have the resources to do that.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like us to know about you, and you have any questions for us?
I don't have any questions for you. I think they have all been answered over the other interviews, so I won't waste your time by re-asking them. I don't really have anything to say about myself. I kind of hate talking about myself, so it's a one-on-one thing. Yeah, totally. If you see me around, we can have a chat, but I don't think you need to hear my life story. But yeah, I'm sincerely grateful for the time that you provided, and thank you, and good luck with your choice, because I'm sure it's not going to be easy.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Steffi Johnson.
I'm sure we're getting to the end of the alphabet. Somebody's. Thanks so much for your time. I know you guys probably need to stretch, or y'all just had lunch, so just stay awake a little bit longer. We're really good.
Well, thanks for being here.
You bet.
It will sound familiar by now, but we'll start.
Yeah.
What motivates you to serve as a school trustee, and why is now the right time for you to take on this role?
This is a great question. And as I thought about it, for me personally, there's a lot of unrest in the world. There's a lot of things going on. And for me, there's been so much negativity, and sometimes you get lost in that negativity. And when I heard about the opening, I thought, I can't change a whole lot what's going on in the world, but I can help with what's going on in my community. And so that was my motivation, is let's give this a shot. I have 4 children, 3 of which went through Helena School, starting in the middle school and through Helena High. My oldest already graduated before we got here. But I also have a bachelor's in education, and education is extremely important to me. It's extremely important to my family. And whether it's preparing students for a trade, if they're going to go off to a trade school, if they're going to go to a 4-year college, education's key. Because in my opinion, without strong education system, our community suffers. We have to have that base. We have to have that foundation. And I just want to give back to my community. And now is a perfect time. For the last 25 years, my youngest graduated 2 years ago. I made lunches for 25 years. I got to tell you, on the last day of his senior year, and I always put a note in every school lunch, okay? And he wrote me back. He's like, "Mom, thanks for making me lunches every day, through all of the years." And so, but it's been 25 years of PTO meetings, of soccer games, of choir concerts, of going in and talking with teachers. So tennis matches, the whole, it goes on forever, right? All of those things that us busy moms do. And so now I have a little bit more time to pursue other things. And being involved in the community is huge. to me. And if this is something that I could help with, then I very much would like the opportunity to do so.
Thank you for that. What do you hope to accomplish in the trust meeting over the next 9 months?
It was interesting listening to the other two interviews because I was like, yep, yeah. You're kind of like, I just gotta get my feet wet, I gotta find out what's going on. But what I would love to see is that the Helena School District becomes one of the best school districts. So the stats that you gave, I want us to be the ones that, yeah, we're right up here. And we have the potential to do that. We have the people, we have the staff, we have the ability. And so I'd like to be part of that. I'd like to take my life experiences and things that I have been through and be able to help in that endeavor. And I hope for the opportunity to work along the other trustees as we make sound decisions as we spend that bond money, that we're transparent. I mean, we've been entrusted with a great gift. And just being able to learn from you all who have been on the board for a while and to grow and do whatever I can in the next 9 months.
Thank you. Our board's work is guided by 5 pillars: teaching and learning, facilities, culture, budget, and communications. How would you support and contribute to our efforts in these areas?
Okay, so I'm just gonna go down your list. So teaching and learning, as I mentioned, I do have a bachelor's in education, and being a teacher today is tough. Holy smokes. It is a tough job. And for me, it's listening to staff and it's being creative in the ways in which we reach students, because it's not a one size fit all. We have students in this district that need different things. And it's being able to give the teachers the resources that they need to be able to reach each one of these students and to watch them succeed. And facilities. So I had the opportunity, we've lived all over the US, and one of our stints was in New England. We lived in Camden, Maine. So that really good ice cream, by the way, if you ever make it over there. But I was on a parent teacher advisory committee to build a brand new middle school. And it was fascinating. I loved that I got to be on the ground floor and we had our books. We were, yes, this is what we want. We want a gym here. We want to have a theater. The process of being able to work with an architect and to do that was amazing. And so when I heard about the bond in the brand new high school, my kids went to Helena High. So yes, I'm very excited for that. It's just like 8 years too late, but that's okay. It's all good. But being part of that process excites me. Like, that is awesome. I mean, to be on the ground floor. So I have that experience of where I was on that committee and would be able to use that as we move forward. As I said, culture, let's touch on that. Like I said, we've lived all over the US. We got to Montana as quick as we could. I love it here. I love the mountains, love Montana. And because I've lived in different places, I have a little bit of a different perspective. One thing, I don't have any major history that maybe can cloud some biases, but I have been able to see how different districts do different things. And for me, that's been a wealth of knowledge, and it helps to come in and say, okay, what about this? Or had you thought about it this way? And then we all come together and, cultivate that. And I'm hoping that the culture that is developed in the Helena School District is one in which the teachers and the staff and the students, they have buy-in. They feel that they need to know that they're integral to us being successful as a district. And that's where I hope our resources are going, is to those individuals so that they can be successful. And I want them to feel heard. I want them to feel valued. And that's just, it's a big thing for me. The budget, the budget, money. Unfortunately, there never seems to be enough of it to go around, right? I've had the opportunity to be on several fundraising organizations in town. I've helped with Hope Center Ministries. I've been on the board of the Last Chance Tennis Center, and I also was on the Grand Street Theater board. And through these fundraising efforts, though I know it's not bond money, it's extremely important to be transparent about what you're doing with those funds. And so when it comes to the budget, that's where as a voter, as a taxpayer, as a parent of students, is making sure that we are being wise stewards of that money. And I'd love to be part of that process. So communication, I served as the president of the Last Chance Tennis Center during COVID. I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. But navigating the closure of a club, having to navigate members' needs and what they thought we should be doing and what, you know, maybe wasn't happening in their mind is a tough thing. And I learned that communication is the key to any successful venture. So you have to have open lines of communication. I am a very strong advocate of an open door policy. If you need to chat, let's chat. And so, and nobody steal this, it's like patent pending, but this is one of my things is, you guys remember Venn diagrams? Okay, so you've got circles. This is my nifty visual aid. So you have a Venn diagram, and a lot of times when we're working in the public arena, we have people that are over here. Okay, so what it is that we need to come together and go, okay, what kind of ice cream do you like? Do you like chocolate chip? I like chocolate chip. And you cross those circles, and it might just be a smidge, right? But you start on the fact that you both like chocolate chip ice cream. And then what you do is you grow on that. And you go, okay, what's your favorite color? What do you think about the schools? How do we help? And then before you know it, you've started here, and before you know it, you're almost completely enclosed. And that is how I look at communication, is that we all have things that we bring to the table. And it's how do we work it out? And what's amazing to me is that when we really get down and we talk to people, we actually have a lot more in common than we do that's not. And it makes a huge difference.
Thank you. In what ways have you contributed to Helena Public Schools in the past?
Okay, so when we first moved here, I started on the PTO. Isn't that what it was called? Okay, thank you. I couldn't remember. It's like PTO, PTS, anyway, it was PTO. And I served on that for 2 years. Second year, I was the president. And we actually were able to, we built a sport equipment storage area during that year. It was really great. I think we used the shop kids there at HMS, and it was kind of an awesome endeavor. So that was that whole year of working on that. I also was a member of the Parent Advisory Committee while I had my youngest at HMS, and then of course through all the high school years I was there. I was involved with Helena High Soccer for 6 years. And if any of you know Coach Straub, you know that that is a full-time job as a parent. So I was one of the main parents that went to varsity camp because I had 2 boys that went through. So I was part of that. I was also involved with Helena High Tennis, and same thing, helped plan banquets. And I also was an assistant JV coach for the tennis as well. And then 2 years ago, I started the Beebe Memorial Scholarship Fund in memory of MC and Leroy Beebe, who were integral to the youth in Helena in tennis. Leroy was actually the assistant varsity coach of Helena High Tennis. And I was good friends with Leroy. He and I served together on the Last Chance Tennis Board. And when we lost them both, I just had this idea of how can we honor them? And so what I did is I pitched the idea. I said, let's start a scholarship. I'd never done this before, but we did. We had our first, we call it the Beebe Memorial Scholarship and Tennis Fest. And our first year was 2024. We raised enough money to give a $1,000 scholarship to East Helena High, and Capital. This year, we just had our second 2 years ago, and now I'm able to give 4 $1,000 scholarships. And I have money to make it even bigger next year. And I believe in our youth because that's the future. These are going to be the future leaders of Helena, of the state of Montana. And so I think being able to help them as they go on their journey and whatever they want to do is incredibly important.
Thank you. What is your understanding of the role and responsibilities of school trustee?
So my understanding is, of course, like the other interviewees had said, is there is a learning curve. And so there's going to be some things that I'm just going to learn as we go along. But the main things that resonated with me as I thought about this question is, first and foremost, I'm a representative of the district. How I carry myself, what I do, I'm representing Helena School District. I'm a steward of the resources of the district. And I also support and champion our staff and our students. As a trustee, I celebrate our victories and I learn from my and our mistakes to do better. And I'm in service. I'm serving the district teachers, staff, students, and fellow trustees. That's what I'm here to do, is to serve. And also to support and encourage our superintendents, because they do not have an easy job. It's not an easy thing to do.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like us to know about you, and do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, so just basically for me personally, I've served, like I said, I've served on a couple boards here in Helena. And as I was serving as president of the club during this COVID time, I understand completely what it's like to have to make a right decision that's not the easy decision, and the backlash that can come with that. And if I may say, you all handled the bond phenomenal. You did it just amazingly well. As I read your comments to people, and it's not easy to keep emotion out of it. It's really difficult. And you guys did a great job. So I just want to say thank you for that, because it's not easy, but I've been through those experiences, not only in the board, in my personal life too, where, people don't always agree with you, but it's how do you respond? Because what's the old saying is, we control how we respond. We can't control what others do, but we can control what we do. I'm passionate about public education. And I feel that every student deserves to flourish and succeed in our public schools. And I recognize that not every student is getting that opportunity to do that. And I want to help whatever way I can to help the district to improve and to provide the necessary education for our future leaders. So when I, when I finished my student teaching, really long time ago, I had an exit interview right before I graduated. And I remember sitting there with these advisors, and they asked me a question. They said, why do you want to be a teacher? Okay, this was like 30 some years ago. And I took a minute because I actually got emotional. I was so embarrassed. But I got emotional, and I said, because I've been blessed with teachers in my life that believed in me and that supported me and pushed me to become the person that I am today. And I want to do that for other students, for my students. And that's what I hope, is I hope that we can empower not just the students, but our staff and our teachers, so that they can soar, they can be as great as they want to be, and that we're there supporting them. So from a personal standpoint, I have a little ranch out east of town. So I tease that my husband works so I can play in the dirt. And so we've got horses and chickens. I have a goose named Goose Goose, if you want a little personal, stuff about me. But we've got goats and the whole 9 yards, and it's a great place to live. Helena is just a beautiful, beautiful place, and I'm grateful that I get to live here. So with that, basically, I have a question for you guys. What is the best thing about being a trustee, and what's the hardest thing about being a trustee? And it's whoever wants to answer. Best and hardest. Yes, yeah.
Guess I'll start. I think just being involved and.
Is this the best or the hardest?
You could go either way.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
But I think it's the best.
Okay.
And, once you learn your role, figuring out where you can have that input and watching good things happen from what all the trustees do. And, that's really great. I'm gonna say school closure is the hard.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I know when you close a school, no one wants to close a school. It's a numbers game. Hawthorne Elementary, excellent school, but you have to do those hard things, and that was something that put us in a good spot, but it was not fun at all.
Right, I can only imagine.
I can speak to the advocacy piece, which I think falls in both categories of being really something that I enjoy as part of being in this role, but it's also the hardest, because you have to, I feel like there is a line between perfect answers and not knowing the answers at all. And how do you talk to people? How do you make sure you have information to be able to go out and advocate for what we need? And that includes going down to the legislature. How do you talk to those folks down there to influence, which can be really challenging, but then at the same time, it's really rewarding to get to go out and be able to do that and support and stand behind decisions on things that are made here. So certainly lots of other things, but I know that really stands out for me.
Wonderful. I appreciate it. Yeah, anybody else?
I think the best thing is just, honestly, people we work with in our job as trustees, the other trustees, administration, all the staff, the community. It's a really great group of people that collaborate really well together and will ask very tough questions as well. But we're all united in wanting to serve the community. I would say the hardest thing is communication. I mean, I think everyone today talked about, transparency in terms of the bond. Even though we had a wealth of very detailed information on the website, even though we had a multitude of brews and bombs or bags and bombs or League of Women Voters, it just, how information gets filtered or what sources people use, to me, that is the hardest thing. So I will repeat the same thing many times, but I know people didn't hear. I think the other hardest thing is sometimes the culture that people are fearful. And so they come to conclusions that aren't accurate. And so just, once you can talk with someone face to face or online, I think it almost always works out. You understand each other. I understand where they're coming from. It's just that I wish we could have had this conversation much earlier in the process. And so it's just connecting with people that I think is the hardest thing.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
Trustee Satcher, did you want to say something? You had your hand up.
Yes, I did. And yes, I have two things I'm going to share that were sort of like the best. One is very broad and inclusive. I have, even through all the difficulty and the decisions, I have just so appreciated getting to know more about all the great things that go on in our public school system here in Helena. You get a chance to look into lots of different crooks and crannies, and also, of course, big ticket items. But that's just been so so impressive and so heartening. So that learning has been really delightful. And then I'll say one other thing. The HEA, our teachers union in Helena, we were having some difficulty coming to agreement in the bargaining process a couple of years ago. And we were able to work with a person named Diane Groves to move to a whole consensus model as opposed to sort of the more traditional bargaining model. I won't go into detail about it, but it was just a very, very rewarding experience. And some of that rewarding part was getting to work pretty close with some teachers, kind of across the spectrum in terms of their careers. And then also just watch the administration. It was a great example of how good communication can happen. And I'm just very grateful for that opportunity. It's not one that I ever even knew was part of or an opportunity that might come up as a trustee. So that's all. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys. Anybody else have anything? Yeah.
We'll probably all.
Good. We can hear from all of you. Yeah, this is great. Lay it on me. This is great.
I've got a meeting at 2 though. That's all. I think the best thing for me personally is being able to understand everything our administration does, the leadership, our teachers, our paras, our food service, just there's so many things that are unpredictable and they're trying to do the best for our students every day. And it's just hard, especially when public schools are being targeted and our staff and whatnot, but they focus on our students. And for a lot of our students in this district, school is their one constant, their one stable place. And this board, it's been excellent to work alongside them and just learn a lot of great experience and insights. And I think for me also, like I like that this last session that there were some of us that were involved advocating and testifying at the legislature and writing letters, because we're at a point now where we need to advocate on a state and national level. I mean, we've been at a point for a long time, as Janet has reiterated over and over. I'll say for me, and echo what Janet said, I think the most complicated thing is like, you can tell people what you're saying. And some people don't know. So you tell them. But then they refuse to hear what you're saying. And I think that's the hardest thing, because we joined this board, and I'll say for me, I'm a social worker, so I'm a parent to a student, but it's really those kids and families that I have served who rely on our schools for meals, for stability, for care, for compassion, right? And we're here for the students. And when you have people refusing to accept why you're here and what you're trying to do, that's hard. And it's not because of feelings. It's because we're trying to get work done. And I know those people are feeling the same way. And if we were an allyship, like you said, you know, and it's gotta be more than that chocolate chip ice cream. I don't know what it is, but maybe.
You gotta start somewhere though, right?
Yeah, it doesn't go beyond that, but I feel like you might have that energy that can get it beyond the chocolate chip and the strawberry scoops of ice cream, because that's what we're here for. We're for all kids.
Right.
That's all.
What the heck, I'll jump in. I think for me, the best thing is just serving the common good, the whole system and every member in it, just the purity of the work and being part of it, seeing how 1,000 people practically in every capacity adapt and find ways to serve the common good in their own way, just being close to seeing it. It's, I mean, I was a very involved, and every parent is involved in, as you know, in ways that they can be, but it has been totally different to be right up close to it and to see just the moral clarity of the work is beautiful. The hardest part is, for me, was COVID. I mean, it's almost a coin toss between closing a school and COVID. But
I think I let that part not be in my mind.
I know, right? That's a healthy segmentation. It was just a really impossible place, as you know, you experience it in your volunteer work, that we're all sharing one reality and entirely individualized ways, getting people to cooperate and to just, even if they didn't support you, just sort of acquiesce while you're blowing up their lives. I mean, it was very difficult, but it's done.
Yeah. I have a really fast one. Mine's the same for both, which is school visits. I love school visits.
Yes.
Or when we get to do our work sessions at schools and see the work that's being done. The heartbreaking part of that is seeing the challenges, whether it's with facilities that really need repair or mental health challenges of students that we don't have enough resources to fix. That's kind of the heartbreaking part.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and your service, and thank you for this opportunity. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, last but not least, Mr. Meyer, we finally got to the ends. You're up.
Good afternoon, and just a note, I feel like I'm coming home. So it was 1977 when I started teaching 6th grade here at the school down in the room right off the entrance. So that instant. So when I walked up, I thought, I remember the Secretary Janet Jacobs meeting me. I was 22 years old and said, "Welcome, Mr. Meyer." And I thought, oh, what have I done? It's happening. So I feel like I'm back home. So I'm delighted to be here.
Thanks for being here. We'll just go through. What motivates you to serve as a school trustee, and why is now the right time for you to take on this role?
Well, I think as the others have said before me, public education is so important. And I don't think there's another time in the history of our country, our state, and our city right now that public education is imperative. And I support that right from the start. I'm a product of public education, and my kids went to Helen High School. our Helena schools, had a great education career here. My wife was educated at the Catholic schools, but then spent her senior year at Capitol High School at the time, or Helena High, excuse me. But it's just so important that public education is the future for what's been said in the last 2 hours for every student, every individual. And I'm a firm believer of that, and I'm a promoter of that. And so the time is right for me. I'm retired. I spent 35 years here in the system. I started as a teacher, ended up as interim superintendent, had many wonderful experiences, mentors, opportunities to work with teachers, teacher assistants, with principals. Josh McKay was one that I supervised in his early careers. I mean, I just had a wonderful time. My wife had 35 years of teaching at Central and HMS. So we both had this experience of public education in Helena, Montana. And I feel like it's time to give back. I finished, you probably know, I finished 13 years at Chaudert working with youth from across the state with mental issues, built a new hospital. And so as I was reflecting about a month ago, I thought to myself, I think when this position opened up, I said, I can do this. I'd like to give back to the district and be part of sitting on this side of the district. I've had opportunities throughout my opportunities to sit on this side of the table, but I feel like I'd like to take this challenge and be part of a great team that Rex has built, that you have built, and continue to work here in Helena.
Thank you. What do you hope to accomplish as a trustee over the next 9 months?
Well, I want to get my feet wet, want to jump in. Again, I want to be part of the team. I've been able to, we've worked with Rex, we've worked with you when we were at Chaudert, we've worked with the staff here, especially at Bryant School, but with the program that's here, the programs that Chaudert does represent or presents to students. And so it's a continuation, both communication. It's an exciting time for the district. It's like a new beginning with a new construction and the construction that occurred at the 3 elementary schools. But it's a time, I think, that there's this hope. I think if you can relate it almost to last Tuesday night as we watched what happened nationwide with elections, depending on where you are, political stuff. I just sense that it reminds me of the 60s when I was a kid, and the sense that people are saying it's time for us to take. And so you've done that in the district with the bond committee and what happened this fall. And I think I want to be part of that. I want to sit on that side of the table, and I want to be able to bring my leadership skills to all of you, learn from you, listen, and push ahead.
Work is guided by 5 pillars: teaching and learning, facilities, culture, budget, and communications. How would you support and contribute to our efforts in these areas?
Well, I know that you have subcommittees that meet, and I would see myself working back with you, with the chair and with the leadership and with Rex to see where my expertise can fit in on which of the committees. But I mean, teaching and learning, that's the work we do. That's what we're all about. If we're not here about teaching and learning, then we're probably not in the right positions. And so that has to be our focus. And every student must have the opportunity, he or she, to learn. And how they learn, how we provide that. That's our job. That's what we have to, what we have. You talked about the 1,000 employees. I mean, we have to figure out how that can happen for every student that's attending our schools, from your early childhood to your kindergarten, to elementary, to middle school, through high school. It's our purpose as we move through. Facilities, we just built a new hospital. It was $68 million. We bonded for 52. We raised the rest in a capital campaign. It was an exhausting process. 5 or 6 years, I didn't know some days if I was coming or going. But Craig and I, we traveled the state, but it was selling the purpose, and it was getting support, financial support. To find $14 million was a huge task for us, but we found that. And so I want to be part of that. I want to be the continuation as you look at facilities and we look at budget and what we need to build the support in this community. Culture, you're designing that. I mean, culture is what what makes people feel good about the district, what employees, why they want to come to work and why they say I work at Helena Public Schools. And so you've done work in culture. I'll be part of that. We did an extensive background on culture at Show Dare and brought in a sense of building culture there. So I'd like to, I bring some of those ideas to the table if I was a trustee. Budget, when somebody mentioned, when you mentioned, when Kay mentioned about the process that you just used, Joe Frashon and I were the first trained in with Bob Chadwick. So the gal that works with you had trained with Bob Chadwick. And I remember my Molly came home and said, Dad, this gal knows you. She remembers you from the Bob Chadwick days. And I said, what are you talking about? Because Bob has passed and stuff. And I do remember her name, but the whole sense of consensus building was something that I had the opportunity to go through in 2000 as a district administrator. And then communication. I love Rex's weekly updates. We struggled when Dr. Messenger was here and I was the assistant student. We didn't have the technology and we didn't have a communication officer at the time. But it was a piece that is so important, and you know that. We've all talked about the sense of communication, and so I'm anxious to see what I could do to help with that piece of it. You all have to tell the right story. That's what I learned when we built the capital campaign. We said to our 300 staff members out at Show Dare, these are the 10 things you need to know about building a new hospital, and get them to memory, kind of like an elevator speech. And we trained our staff to say, somebody asks you about the capital campaign, pull out your little card. And if you can't remember, just take the card and talk from it. And I'll tell you, it helped us. It helped us across the state talk about our needs and what we needed to do at Show Dare. So I think there's some strategies that we can do here in the district with 1,000 employees.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In what ways have you contributed to Helena Public Schools in the past?
I think about the Bengal Booster Club that my wife and I were on for many years, but so we did all those things as parents. But we're very, very avid supporters of HEF. I believe in the foundation. I always say to my colleagues that they're not going to do anything else, give money to the foundation, because it's a way to give back. And so Katie and I are both just avid about whenever the foundation is doing something or the way that we could support. We've chosen to honor our administrators and teachers that have passed away that we worked with. And so we always give it a donation in their name. Because I say that I hope somebody will do that to me when I've been passing. And then the teachers, many years past on the May levy elections, there was always a committee, and it was usually driven by the teacher professional HEA and then a group of administrators. And so I would just find myself involved with that, or Katie would as a teacher, just to support every day what was happening with the levy elections. And I helped with them. I stayed back. I told Lisa, I'll help with the bond election, but what my role was to call the people that gave so graciously to us at Show Dare from Helena and say, hey, guess what? I'm going to ask one more time. Guess what? Now what it is. And some said, Keith, you promised me you would never ask another time. I said, I know, I lied. Just one more time.
What is your understanding of the role and responsibilities of a school trustee?
Well, you are the legal representative of the district. You are the fiscal agent for the district. You are the group of individuals who make the decisions from the securing the funds to the proper expenditures to all the legal ramifications of running a school district. And so you have a very, very large responsibility to the citizens of Helena and to the voters of the Helena Public Schools. And so it all stems down from legal pieces that are laid out, plus your policy, procedures, and then to address the issues that pop up on Rex's desk or others' desks to come up with a solution. And if it's a procedure change, a policy change, it's really to make sure that the district is running day in and day out.
You. Is there anything else you'd like us to know about you? Would you have any questions for us?
I think most of you. I know, I don't know all of you. I know you, but it's nice seeing Jennifer and knowing Siobhan, and I know Janet, so, and I know Kay, but, no, I'm a product. Been here, I've lived in Helena since 1977. My wife was born here and my kids were born here and raised, so they always say, and I grew up on a farm. I loved your story about the ranch. I always wondered, turned to the farm in Fairfield and everybody said, Dad, if you want to go back there, you just go back, but we're staying in Helena, so I'm here. But I guess I would ask what your expectations of the individual selected for this vacancy. What are you looking for in a candidate or someone that will be sitting at the open chair?
Thank you. That's the question I was hoping that someone would ask. I'd just like to say, since you're the last one, that there isn't a candidate that I would want to work with. Including Aaron Gallagher, who was a breath of fresh air for being that voice of reason as we worked with Hawthorne School closures procedure last year. But for me, I'm looking for someone, I look at that as a puzzle. So where are our strengths and where are our weaknesses in the organization? What changes need to come? And I'm looking for someone who I feel would fit that puzzle piece to slip in there. And as far as our 5 pillars, I feel like, since I got on the board, we put a tremendous amount of work into facilities, from the deferred maintenance work, into the facilities master plan. And now we're just in a great spot. Not that it doesn't have a ton of work, but it's sitting pretty well. We're gonna get those built and then we'll have to take a breath and decide what's next into the future. So I feel like that's in pretty good shape since I got on the board. Not that I brought bad news along with me, but that's sort of how it felt. The budget is in good shape. We had a point where over 100% of the budget was being spent out of our elementary side, which that's not really hard math to see that that's a bit of a problem. So we've done a ton of work. Superintendent Wells and his team have turned that around based on really hard decisions. So budget's in pretty good shape. We've worked with Diane Groves, culture. There's always more work to be done in culture, but I feel like the whole system is quite a bit happier recently. So the areas that I think are really important, we have excellent graduates. And as Superintendent Welch said, we are right behind Bozeman in that area as far as our high school. Yet we have some real needs, I believe, still in our teaching and learning system. If you look at it from our 4-year-old program and having that consistency that makes it first and foremost really great for kids, but also for teachers, so that we bring kids along so that we're not filling in holes and having that backtracking, that I think we can reduce that and have a smoother system. So I'm looking for someone who has additions in the teaching and learning, and then communication we're kind of in the middle of that, but I think that could use a little bit more work. So I guess in summary, I think everyone would be great to work with, but I'm looking for someone who's gonna provide something in those 2 spaces.
Thank you.
I would say I'm looking for someone, I think we're stretched a little thin for covering it, but we are a little thin, like Candace kindly asked us who's going to the PTO meetings, and we're all like, we're at all these other meetings. And, yeah, and we have to do our regular job somehow around that. The state, people talk about the budget. I mean, what I've learned over the past 4 years is the state has such a huge impact in that, and that they're often, they pass laws or policies, but how they're implemented is maybe not what they intended, and getting that loop back to them. We're coming up with an interim commission for funding. That's a huge one. It's a huge opportunity for us. like Siobhan, I mean, there's just a bunch of great options. Anyone that's not selected, we're gonna have all these committees as we build the schools and we want input. So it's just trying to stretch ourselves to reach all those avenues of communication and consensus building.
I have a quick one. As the currently newest trustee, I think it's been my goal to learn first, and understand the context of everything before I go about making decisions. And I want to be well informed. So someone that's willing to learn and hear from multiple perspectives and get the background story before coming in with grand ideas and
Sure.
change.
I can help add to that too. Everyone has had great things, so not to repeat what's already been said. But I would like to, in hearing responses, I want to be able to envision someone who can take the philosophical piece of that and make it happen. And transparency and communication have been really common themes, but I want to be able to pull out through the responses of how that might happen. Not for not trying, right? We've brought on multiple resources. We've found ways even ourselves, newsletters, all of the different resources available. So how do you really improve on that? I don't know. And, and you have to also think too, that there's some responsibility from the community to take that on. So hearing kind of a blanket statement about communication has been a little bit challenging. And, also understanding there definitely is a learning curve and we want to make sure that there's responsibility with that as well. But jumping in and hit the ground running. Let's get you, signed up with a committee or get you somehow involved with the bonds, that sort of thing. But having the passion to kind of get started right away, I think is something that I'd also be looking for.
One interesting part of the decision is that, at least for me, is boards. It's temporary and kind of borrowed authority. It's borrowed from the public. The authority comes from the public. And in this particular case, and these are unusual circumstances, they don't come up very often, but we're making a decision on behalf of the public. They don't get to pick like they will in 9 months.
Right.
When this position becomes open to the public. To make a choice on. So that is just something that kind of rolls around in my head too. Like it's a job interview in a way, for a job that pays no money. So it's weird. It's in a very public process for a job that pays no money. But then it's also making a decision for people who don't get a chance to. And will the next trustee best represent the public? That's a really important part of it. And I don't think I'm doing this justice with my words, but that's just something that kind of rolls around in the whole equation too. But I would agree with what Trustee Hathorn said. I mean, this is an embarrassment of riches. I mean, we've had times when we couldn't find anyone. And there's multiple of us on the board who ran unopposed because nobody wanted the job. So in some ways, the fact that we have so much interest, I'm so thankful for it. And I'm truly, truly thankful for every person who is, could envision themselves with this responsibility and is interested in it. I also feel like it's kind of an endorsement on the work that our entire district has done, including the board, to get gets into a position where people actually want to sit on it. Because that hasn't always been the case. So it's a nuanced decision that we have to make, and I honestly, it's going to be very hard. Yes, it's like Trustee Hathorn said, but everyone who has come has been someone who do the public's work in a good way.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Good luck.
So guys, this is the chance in our agenda where we can talk it out openly for our public to hear. I know. Maybe we like to talk. I'm sorry. Can you tell us what this process is going to look like? Yes, so here's what will happen. We had 2 interviews on our first session. One of those applicants, as you mentioned, Ms. Gallagher withdrew her name. And we had two more at our second session. And I wasn't able to attend that. I did listen. I know the same is true for trustee statute. We did listen to the recording, so we're up to date on that. And then we had these four today. So we will talk now amongst ourselves. The next thing on the agenda is an item for action. Somebody will make a motion. Someone's gonna have to move one of these names forward, and it will be handled like any other motion. There will be opportunities for public comment, word comment, and we'll vote, and I don't know how. After that, it becomes we discuss and move forward, but that is how it will go. It'll be an entirely public process, the way we do everything. It's super fun. It's not gonna be awkward at all.
I'm going to start.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, this is
I'll just
we're
jump in
discussing-
there, like,
yeah, we're
that's
just-
what I do, 2 feet, make a big old splash. Want to reiterate that I can work with anyone, it's been a great group of people and, amazing, citizens and people that contribute. I already have a short list. And the reason I have the short list is because I think it's very important that, to me, that trustees understand the foundational work that we do. And the foundational work that we do is educating students. No one, if we just said, we're only going to do communication, people wouldn't show up. If they said, we're only gonna do culture, people wouldn't show up. Parents send their kids to school to learn. So I listened to everyone very carefully, and the two candidates that I came up with that focused on the learning of students were our last two, Steffi Johnson and Keith Meyer. I'll be brave. I agree that it's a very hard decision, and I would be happy to work with every single one of these individuals that put their name forward. One thing that I have in mind is this is a time of extreme extra work, change. And I want somebody who can hit the ground running and understands all of the aspects of being a trustee in terms of how it relates to making decisions about the bond, those sorts of things. And I agree with Trustee Hathorn about the importance of teaching and learning. And so Mr. Myers stands out to me as having the most extensive expertise in the areas that we need most at this particular juncture.
I'll pick it up. Also was able to kind of narrow down my thoughts, and I really appreciated the folks who came on, not necessarily having direct ties to the district, because it's important to have multiple perspectives on how to do things. And I think we already bring that to the board already, with some of us having folks going through the district and folks who maybe have graduated and whatnot. So I didn't necessarily want to rule anybody out without, someone just because they don't have direct ties. And I do appreciate the experience, and definitely wasn't necessarily a huge aspect of my decision because I came on with no experience. And I think we've all had different levels of confidence in coming in and taking on the responsibility of learning. With that being said, 9 months is a short period, and we do have a responsibility to the public to use this time wisely until they're able to kind of help with that decision when the election comes up. So I've narrowed mine down to Steffi and Keith because I believe that there is a passion there that was unmatched with other candidates, and that there is a level of experience that is needed to really get things moving in the short period of time that we have.
Trustee Satcher, you put your hand up.
Okay, thank you. I just want to start by saying thank you to all of our candidates. And yes, you've made the task here before us really hard because there's so many good qualities, and certainly that sense of conviction and passion really dedication to public education. So my feeling is I will also suggest two candidates. One is Katie Butler, and I'm supporting her because, again, there was so much that they all have in common that's really great. So it's looking for a few things that might be important to the work of the district. And I would say Katie Butler, partly because she has kids in the system, but she also could bring, as she spoke to this in her interview, could bring in kind of a sense of more participation from the Valley, because that's where Katie is from, and so, or where she lives and where her kids have gone to school at Jim Dorsey. And I also just felt like she had a really great response to what is the role of a trustee. And let's see, I'm just looking at my notes here. And she had some good questions for us too, concerns about how do we engage citizens in some of the decisions we make, not all of them, but how, you know, how do we do that in a positive way. So anyway, I'll say I was impressed with Katie. She also has so many, I think, communication skills. And so all of that seems wonderful. My second choice, and not in that order, but another person that I would very much advocate for is Keith Meyer, and that matches up with what a couple of my colleagues have already said. But in terms of experience, in terms of having experiences in many different roles within the district, having just come through with all his work for Shodair, I feel like that also brings sort of a sensibility as well as just skill that would be great. So yeah, I'm going to put forward those two, Katie Butler and Keith Meyer. And again, I want to just thank all the candidates because yeah, it is hard to decide because there's a lot of good stuff that you've all shared with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to echo Trustee Satry and thank everyone. This day gives me, or the past 3 meetings, gives me a lot of hope for the future. What this is really about is to fix the issues we have before us, which are eminently fixable. We need people to be engaged. We need people off the sidelines. We need people discussing in so many ways, whether it's up here or you're on a budget consensus committee, or you're on one of the building committees for one of the 3 new schools. There's just so many opportunities for citizens of Helena to get involved. We want you involved because together we can fix this. So thank you really to everyone. It just really brings me a lot of hope personally to see the amount of engagement. Having said that, I will actually echo Trustee Thatchery's recommendations. I served on Yes for Helena Schools, and I think Katie's perspective brings a lot to the table. And that is certainly communication, even though we do a multitude of communication in a multitude of different ways, it seems to still be an issue. And I think she talked about, you know, communication is one thing, but how it is received is another. And that is something that I've been dealing with for quite a bit, right? How do we solve that conundrum? And then Keith Meyer just has a wealth of experience. And since it's 9 months, I think, you know, his learning curve will be shorter. But I really do hope it's 9 months. I do hope that people continue to stay engaged and together we can get her done, as we say about dinner.
All right, Katie Butler, yeah, Kay and Janet, yeah, pretty much covered the same reasons, and I really like her experience in the legislature, and I feel like that's such an asset, just not only for our district, but for all students in Montana. I also like having more representation in the Valley, which we don't have. Man, I'm torn between 2 people. Keith Myers, yes. I don't have to say anything. And then, for me, it's Steffi, man, that passion just comes through and I love the energy. I love, her experience as a parent, all the ways she's involved. But she's a go-getter, like, she's like, hey, I want to do this. Okay, I'll figure it out and get it done. So like, regardless of the learning curve, I think she'll figure it out and she'll get her done. So, that's why I'm listening to all you guys to figure out how to sway myself. So, can I just say that's where I'm at now, right now, and then we vote, or somebody could add some more to help, help me in one way.
No, I think that's totally fair, and I really and truly, I mean, everyone who put your name in, this isn't just lip service, like, I'm so happy that you did. And everyone would be an addition, a good addition to the board. I would echo what other people said. I started, like, the two that I've got it narrowed down to is Katie Butler. One, for a lot of reasons with Ms. Butler, I mean, she's a Jim Darcy parent. I'm not sure this board is, I don't know the last time there was a Jim Darcy parent on this board. I don't know the last time there was somebody from the North Valley on this board. And that is, I think it's important for people to see themselves in their elected government. And I was very, very happy that she was interested. That being said, she also brought all these other characteristics to the application process. I mean, her background in understanding kind of like mass communications and sort of politics, for lack of a better term, not really like partisan politics, but just the way that groups make decisions and those decisions turn into, you know, the agency that we have to act. That was really important. She also interacts with and has like sort of like the organic neighborhood friendships with people that we don't see very often, whose children are, you know, the individuals that we serve. And then finally on the passing that bond in 2025, 4 months after a $4 million levy went down, this felt like a miracle. I mean, the people that I know who have worked on it called it, as Ms. Butler did, their greatest professional accomplishment. Totally, absolutely. I mean, it was just so unexpected. And it's one of the reasons that people want to be involved in our district for a variety of ways. And it's like, man, she did the work, and that was almost like it was like stolen from the hands of the devil to be got that fast. And like anyone who was part of that is just hugely significant. And Keith Meyer, I mean, I'm not gonna spend our precious time running through the list of why he would be awesome on this board. I mean, we heard it, and he would just be an absolutely, I mean, he would 100% serve our public well. That's where I'm at.
So, I just wanted to add some more information and, to support Katie Butler it was very, very hard. She was one of the first ones, right?
Yeah.
She was like our first session, and was given the questions 4 hours ahead of time.
Yeah.
Whereas with the other candidates, I have heard that their responses were influenced by responses from prior recordings of the other sessions. So I would like to give her credit for that, because I know that it was incredibly difficult, and it wasn't any fault of anybody's, just with timing and scheduling. That was how it works out. You try to be as fair as you can, but we have obligations to make reports public. So, you know, some folks, it sounds like, took advantage of that into their preparation, and that's not considered good or bad. I did feel like with Katie Butler, absolutely, as you guys had said, with the very good positives, the support and passing the bond, a lot of work and a lot of time that she had put in and dedicated to that. I felt like her perspective and views on how we have been handling communication had been a huge deficit. And honestly, I didn't agree with how she was portraying the picture of how our communication has gone. I do agree the valley does need representation and certainly don't know the last time that we've had anyone. And while my kids went to Jim Darcy, still not serving on the elementary board, you know, it's just not the same. So there is that piece of it. I will say for Steffi Johnson that there was an energy and a passion that I had seen come through that I did not see with Katie Butler. More of a positive outlook, I want to say, maybe just, it was just really good and refreshing to kind of hear you speaking when you came up. But certainly I'm still in favor, more so with Keith Meyer, because again, it's 9 months. We have a lot of work that's going to be done in 9 months. And from some of the other responses hearing that, you know, taking time to understand the role and to learn and all of that, which is absolutely a piece of it. But most of us have had 3 years to do that. And then if we renewed, we had more time. So I think with the short amount of time and the amount of work that we want to kind of progress forward with the bonds and other things, I think Keith Meyer would be a great fit.
Are we okay to make the motion? We feel ready.
We need to close this item for information and then open up an item for action. So we're still talking about our item for information. If we feel like we've talked it out, we can move on to the next one, but
We
that's,
can talk after the motion as well.
yeah, we can talk after the motion as well, yeah. But this conversation continues until we feel like we're kind of done with the informational part of all the candidates, not just the one that we hear.
So does the motion need to be for one of our candidates, or maybe, for instance, could you say, I move that we have a vote off between A and B?
You know,
I think it would be, you move for a particular person and
Yeah.
making them into the
For a
motion.
particular person, yeah.
Yeah.
So it has to be one person. I was gonna say, can we do our top two? and
Because
see
we don't
who
have
has the
two
most?
action items.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
we don't, we have one action item,
One,
yeah.
help us.
Make motion for one. Get amended.
Oh.
Yeah,
then
that's
you
true.
just keep.
That's true. That is how it would go. You could make a motion for one and it can go down.
The motion could die.
Or it could die. It could go down on a tie. Which is the way that it dies. I mean, it feels like we really, well,
Yeah, I don't know, man. So, yeah.
I was gonna say maybe we can continue our discussion, but as an action item, because that will narrow it down for us.
Yeah,
And
Agreed.
we
Yeah.
need to move on to the item for action.
when we're done talking, and if we're done talking, we can move on to the item for action. Do you feel like we're done talking, guys?
yeah.
All right, we'll move on to items for action.
I will be brave and make a motion.
Okay.
I move that the board appoint Keith Meyer as our new trustee.
I'll second. All right, you've got a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on the motion? Is there any board comment on the motion?
Just a very prevalent name that came up from all of ours. I think that in a minimum, everyone here is somewhat, maybe not their first, but first or second for Keith Meyer. So I just want to make that point.
Yes, thank you. Any other discussion? And I appreciate that, trustee Alcon. There was one person that we all agreed on. Right, just no public comment, more word comment.
Okay.
Right, there's a motion and a second to appoint,
Yeah, I got one question. Okay, so if the majority say aye, then we don't even go to the next person. Is that kind of how that works?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
and I would,
And if you say a nay, it's not like they're not, it's just not there, it's not your first choice, or.
yeah.
Or it's up to interpretation. Who cares, man? Okay, let's get her done. Okay.
And there will be multiple openings on this board, and actually, if people see no interest, remember that there will be multiple openings on this in. All right,
Chair May,
yeah, well,
back to Linda's question, though. I think that's serious in the fact that before you as a committee, as a board, you have the ability to vote your conscience the way that you see
Yeah.
fit. And if you choose not to vote for the motion, you can say nay.
Yeah.
Right? It goes on record where you're
Yeah.
at. It may indicate that that's not your first.
Yeah.
But I think you don't go with the flow.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other comment? Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 6-1. All right, are there any board or superintendent's comments? So congratulations to Mike.
Yeah, we'll do the swearing.
Does that happen during the meeting? Does that happen after?
Yeah.
Janelle can help us out. I would,
It's not official, it tells me these words and then so.
We done? Okay.
I didn't know either.
Trustee, please, you have to,
Yeah, do I have to sign something and then I can, okay.
Ms. Nicholson, do you need signatures from trustees?
The chair and the, appointee, and then I'll.
I think you're.
Okay, thanks.
Well, and, yeah. Are we ready? Yeah, okay. You know, one more time.
Stand right here. And congratulations ahead of time. I just, wow, this was kind of an exciting day today all the way around. But if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of Montana. And the Constitution of the State of Montana. And that I will discharge the duties. And I will discharge the duties. Of my office. Of my office. With fidelity. So help me. So help me. Congratulations.
Thank you all. I look forward to getting going.
Can't leave yet.
Okay.
Time.
Okay.
We have a meeting tomorrow. Pete, can you make it?
Love that game. For a second.
All right.
Grandchildren and they
Um,
just live in it.
Are there any board or superintendent comments? Yeah.
I just want to say many, many thanks to everyone that put their name in. As I think Chair McKee said, there will be openings. There definitely will be openings. We hope that you continue to stay engaged. There's so many opportunities in which the common good can use more helping hands. So we really appreciate you taking the time out to be with us today.
And please agree to us. Any other, yes, trustee Elton.
This is unrelated. Just wanted to share something that, I've been, thinking about. Been looking at doing some, background work for teaching and learning and, just poking around on the other districts' websites. And, you know, one thing that this board has not done for a very long time is a long-term strategic plan. And that may give us some guidance that we want. So I just wanted to put a bug in the ear and see and start talking about that, because I don't think it's been done here for quite a long time. So it really helps guide the goals and you know, reevaluate the goals of the district that, you know, may or may not still be valid. So no action, or just wanted to bring that idea up and give you a little bit of time to think about it.
Thank you.
Quickly, on that note, I had that idea 4 years ago and it wasn't a good idea then. And now it's starting to become relevant.
Depends on who brings the idea up.
We certainly have had this before. We've had good conversation around and we'd be happy to start that conversation again. It wasn't the right time and place, I think, and that board at the time when I brought it up wasn't interested just because of the other things that were going on. So if that's the direction, we certainly would entertain some of those thoughts and ideas, as we move forward. I just want to say real quickly, as Steffi and Alan are still here, that the willingness to put yourself out there, the passion, and it came out, the sincerity in doing it for the right reasons. I really want to thank you for being here. I hope this isn't a loss, that we retain you, in moving forward with the district. So thank you for what you do.
I love that too. I mean, there's so many, as you said, I mean, like everyone would have done an awesome job and would have been a joy to start with. And really, there's multiple opportunities to stay involved. I hope you do. This was one of the most awkward experiences we've all had. It was an entirely public application process, but that is what school districts are. I mean, we are working on behalf of the public, and they got to hear every single word that was said if they wanted to, and depending on how long their lunch hour goes. So that's how it went down, but thank you very much. I mean, you were super impressive. Everyone was.
If we only had a 14-person board.
All right, I think we're done, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.